So if you follow cybersecurity news, then more likely than you already know that North Korea is a big player when it comes to cybercrime. Allegedly, let me say that real quick. Allegedly, they are linked to the WannaCry ransomware attacks. They are linked to the Sony attacks in 2014. Like, they are big players in the world of cybercrime. Now North Korea isn't just hacking into banks and stealing crypto, they are also stealing remote jobs. And on top of that, they are using fake job postings to deliver malware. And the craziest part about it is they're pretty much getting away with it. Allegedly. This is all alleged. I don't want no smoke. So let's look into the fake worker aspect of this situation first. This comes from Wired.com, written by Bobby Johnson, titled "North Korea Stole Your Job." I'm not going to read all of it, but I'm going to read that first paragraph because I think it sets the tone and it just encapsulates it pretty beautifully. All right, so the article starts off by saying, on paper, the first candidate looked perfect. Thomas was from rural Tennessee and had studied computer science at the University of Missouri. His resume said he had been a professional programmer for 8 years, and he breezed through the preliminary coding test. All of this was excellent news for Thomas's prospective boss, Simon Vickmans, founder of the web security startup Seaside. The 27-year-old Belgian was based in London but was looking for ambitious, fully remote coders. Thomas had an Anglo-Saxon surname, so Vickmans was surprised when he clicked into his Google Meet and found himself speaking with a heavily accented young man of Asian origin. Thomas had a generic image of an office as his background, and his connection was laggy, odd for a professional coder. And at the end of his call, it was noisy. To Vickmans, Thomas sounded like he was sitting in a large, crowded place, maybe a dorm or a call center. So anyways, the rest of the article explains that he goes through the interview and, he answers the questions pretty well. And he noticed that Thomas didn't really care about anything but the salary, didn't care about the actual workload or the company or anything, just the salary. He thought it was odd, but, the interview was done and he got ready for the next interview. Next interview rolls around, it's the same thing, Anglo-Saxon name, thick Asian accent whenever they got to the call, and bad internet connection, single focus on salary. But what he did notice was that he was wearing glasses, and in the lens, Vickman spotted the reflection of multiple screens, and he could make out a white chat box with messages scrolling by. He was clearly either chatting with someone or on some AI tool, Vickman remembers. So after those two interviews, he was obviously curious, and so he looked into the application pool and noticed that there was 500 more applications, more than usual, at least that he was getting. And as he looked deeper into there, he looked at the coding tests. He noticed that they were all using VPNs. So pretty much he stumbled onto that, cybercrime operation. And one can think how can these people get away with it? How is it that North Korea is able to get away with this operation? Well, that's where Christina Chapman comes in. Christina Chapman was living in a trailer in Minnesota, and she was looking for work. And she was just a normal person, had no ties, I think, at that point to be malicious. But she was a normal person when she got a LinkedIn message in, I think, 2020. And that message was from a company overseas that said, hey, we're just looking to find some help for finding remote employment. And she signed on. This is insane. So she got the job in 2020. So by 2022, it says she had 90 laptops at once in her Arizona home. She ended up moving from Minnesota to Arizona because it just paid that well. So she was able to get out of the trailer and get into a 4-bedroom place in Arizona.
Chapman posted frequently on TikTok, showing laptops in the background.
My clients are going crazy.
Her posts getting more emotional after her arrest in 2023.
Just when I think something might be going in my favor, it goes terribly wrong.
So by 2022, she had 90 laptops at once going on in her Arizona home. She helped the North Korean workers find 300 plus jobs. And I'm not talking about a mom and pop place. This is Nike, a top TV television station, a Silicon Valley tech giant, and I think an aerospace manufacturer. So on top of that, out of this whole operation, about $17 million ended up being funneled to North Korea. And in the end of it, she was sentenced to 8.5 years in prison. So what happened to the people of North Korea, or the people in North Korea? they got away with it. Before we talk about how they get away with this, we have to figure out how they were hired. So first thing they do is they assume fake identities, right? They have a U.S. name. As U.S. as it can be, right? Thomas from Tennessee, Paul, Joe, Stephen, Eric. After that, they create a fake resume. They pad out the resume with the degrees from the U.S. universities, and they have like some really, really good FANG type experience. And then they create fake headshots using AI. So after they have these fake identities, they created all that jazz. Then they use AI to basically prep them for the interview. They use it obviously for the resumes, the cover letters, the interview prep. I guess maybe even on a cultural aspect, football. What is American football? What is Thanksgiving? I guess stuff like that. Then they implement AI during the interview process, as I talked about in the Wired article. And then during the interview itself, I guess somehow they fool the interviewers. I don't know how they do that, especially if they have those thick, heavy accents. They got bad connection, the generic virtual backgrounds. And honestly, I don't know how they deceive them, but some employers are, stupid enough to believe it, and it works. So after that, they need a facilitator, right? So a facilitator that's based in the U.S., like Christina Chapman was. This is so that they can do a couple things. So obviously the fake workers can't use fake IDs or request laptops directly to fly to them. So they use these facilitators to basically get all of the incoming mail, so all of the laptops, forge documents, sign I-9 documents. They also receive the paychecks, and they also run those laptop farms that allow them to, VPN and make it seem like they're are based out of the US. Actually, sorry, looking into the laptop farm part. So basically, when hired, the fake workers ask for laptops to be shipped to new addresses, right? So they say, hey, got a sick relative, yada, yada, yada. Can you just deliver it to this place instead? So it's delivered to the facilitator's home, and the facilitator installs a remote tool like AnyDesk. And so the North Koreans can connect remotely and make it appear like they're in the US, even though they're obviously overseas. Yeah, so once they find their facilitator, honestly, they're in good business. Everyone's making money, everyone's happy until they get caught. And once someone gets caught, obviously it is the facilitator that catches heat for it. Koreans obviously just move to the next target, I suppose. And that's pretty much it with that. I think it's pretty interesting, to be honest with you. I think that it's very smart, and I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. They're going to be able to continue, especially with AI. They're going to continue to get better and better at impersonating the U.S. workers, and then they're going to end up funneling more money to North Korea. That's just how it's going to be. There's not going to be a stoppage of facilitators, especially those willing to make quote unquote easy money and risk their freedom in the process. That's just how the world works. That's how criminals think. And at the end of the day, you really have to blame the employers for just not being able to set up adequate enough screens to catch these people. It really falls on the hands of the employers, and it's unfortunate that the workers or potential workers, people who are trying to find jobs, get affected by that. But that's not the only way that job seekers are affected. Instead of North Korea just doing the job seeking and finding jobs, they're also doing the inverse, trying to find employees or potential employees to maliciously exploit. So the Lazarus APT group is essentially just North Korean hackers. Don't know their names, but like I said, they're pretty much responsible, allegedly, for the things that I talked about in the beginning of the video. Now, the Lazarus group allegedly took $1.4 billion of crypto from a company called Bybit. Now, that's an incredible amount of money. I don't mean to gloss over that $1.4 billion heist, but I'm going to have to for the sake of the time of this video. Now, this particular information that I'm getting this from does come from the article silentpush.com. I'll link that in the description as well, so you can check it out because it's a beautiful article. But prior to that beautiful heist, I don't mean to glorify like crime in any way, but that's kind of impressive. But hours before that heist, they apparently registered a domain called bybit-assessment.com just a few hours before. And the domain was connected to an email address, trevorgreer9312@gmail.com, which has been used in previous Lazarus attacks. They also pretty much bought up other domains like NVIDIA, blockchain, jobhub.com, stuff like that. And the whole idea was that they used those domains to host fake interview portals that mimicked real application sites. Now, they were obviously targeting like software developers, people that are in the crypto and fintech space, and IT workers. So what they would do was they would send LinkedIn messages offering like legit job opportunities as legit sounding companies like the NVIDIA and the Bybit, things of that nature. And they would say, hey, we'd like to set up an interview. Once the interview was set up, they obviously gave them that like malicious link, which they would say like, hey, this is just a hiring assessment. So it would look legit. It would tell you the roles and responsibilities. It would give you some questions. How about this? How about that? And then it would give you another assessment, which I'm guessing is like a coding assessment, but it would try to mimic like, or say that it was proctored. So it would say, hey, set up your camera, This is where the fun happens. Once they did once they have the camera set up, obviously there was a certain error that was going to happen. It looks like the task that they were told to do was just kind of copy and paste a command in their command prompt. Once they did, it would install that like malicious payload, which would be a random access Trojan. Once they did that, it looks like their intent was to drain any cryptocurrency wallets. You know, I just don't really have any words for that. I think on one hand, I think it's easy maybe to blame the victim, saying, hey, you should have been more alert about this. But at the same time, you have to understand, like, they're preying on people who are looking for jobs and who are just trying to make an earning. And that's where it's just not cool, man. I mean, it was never cool, but you know what I mean. I think for job seekers, it's super scary on one hand to have people who, you know, first of all, you're fighting for, you know, majority of us on this channel are fighting for entry-level jobs, and we're fighting other people who are trying to get these entry-level roles, who have years and years more of experience, who can't get jobs either, right? And on top of that, now we're fighting with people overseas who are doing nefarious tasks, nefarious things to try to land jobs in the US. And then on top of that, you know, no job is safe. Like a job posting, you know, it's hard to find really good jobs, but there's a lot of jobs out there that are scams. Like there's a lot of job postings that are really scams, like on Indeed, LinkedIn, like it's everywhere. And so what should just be like, hey, trying to find a job, find a posting, apply to it, interview, get the job, you know, it turns into much more because now you have to be cautious and alert about things like this. So anyway, what are your thoughts on this whole North Korea job thing? Obviously, it sucks, but most people don't make it this far in this video anyway. So if you're watching, I do thank you and I appreciate it. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.